We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and the care of it for thousands of years. Open to the spirit who has ever been present here, we resolve to appreciate its beauty, to be wise stewards of its resources, and to honour the connection the traditional custodians, the Kumba from the Gumbai Nation, have with this land.
Good afternoon, staff and students, and welcome to the 2018 Amnesty Assembly. Our focus today will be on education and how learning opportunities vary so significantly between urban and rural Australia, as well as in third world countries. It's no secret that education changes lives. A good education prepares us for our adulthood. It broadens our minds, allows us to develop passions and political stances, and guides us to make justified decisions about our careers. We joke and whine about the inconvenience of waking up on a Monday morning and driving 20 or so minutes just to go to school, forgetting that for the millions of teenagers and children across the world that do not have access to an education, this is an absolute dream. Article 26 in the Universal Charter of Human Rights explicitly states everyone has the right to an education, that elementary education shall be compulsory, and that higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. And yet the sheer amount of people around the world who are not having access to their rightful education is simply astounding. The second point of the article is also crucial for us to take note of. It states, education shall be directed to the full development of human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. Under these guidelines, a world of educated people would be a world where many people are accepting and aware of their abilities and consequences. There would still be the inevitable clash of politics, but evidently education takes us a step closer towards erasing the ignorance that fuels irrational decisions made across the world stage. Girls, take a moment to embrace a sense of true gratitude for our privilege, to be grateful that we, girls of the 21st century, are here together in a place of educational empowerment where many others wish they had the opportunity to be.
The term urban education refers to the schooling within metropolitan communities. Students who are fortunate enough to receive this education are often provided with numerous opportunities, in which are more beneficial towards their future, in comparison to those who receive a rural education due to multiple reasoning. For instance, there is a larger range of subjects and levels of study available to students living in urban areas. Those in urban areas have less difficulty accessing educational opportunities. There are also small differences between the literacy and numeracy performances of rural and urban students during the middle years of their education. One student found that the average scores for Year 12 students were 71.5% in urban areas and only 68.1% in rural areas. Also, the difference in Year 12 participation rates is about 10% between metropolitan and non-metropolitan students, in favour of the metropolitan students. Not to mention, the participation of young people living in urban areas in Year 12, as well as education beyond school, is higher than the participation of young people living in regional and remote areas. The NAPLAN report analysed data from students who have completed all 4 years in NAPLAN testing in Years 3, 5, 7 and 9 and tracked their progress. The report revealed that students in rural and regional areas are up to 2 years slower than that of inner city students between Years 3 and 9. Students receiving an urban education generally complete all of their schooling and continue on to higher studies, such as university, whereas some students in rural areas still experience difficulty in gaining education beyond compulsory schooling. In fact, a lot of these rural students do not even get the chance to complete their secondary studies. Since 1996, there's been an increase in the proportion of Australian students with a non-school qualification. The lower rates of the population with a non-school qualification are outside of major cities, and this may be related to post-secondary education being perceived as less relevant to life and career opportunities by some of the people living in rural and remote areas. School completion is an important social goal as early school leavers face the risk of restricted social and labour market opportunities and financial insecurity. Therefore, education contributes to economic growth and improves individual well-being, which indicates that a good education plays a significant role in terms of maintaining a positive and cohesive social environment. It is clear that higher levels of education attainment, especially urban education, are associated with increased employment opportunities, higher wages, and contribute to improving Australia's economic standing.
Australia is yet to overcome the enormous challenge of providing quality education to those outside urban centres. While only 10% of Australians live in rural and remote areas, this population is spread across a vast continent with one of the lowest population densities in the world. The evidence shows there is a consistent link between where Australians live and their educational outcomes at all stages of education, with those living in rural and remote communities doing worse than students in urban areas. To date, many of the policies in place to address this have been ineffective. The proportion of very remote students who meet the requirements at each milestone is between 19 and 48 percentage points lower than those of the Australian population as a whole. Students living further from cities are less likely to catch up once they are off track at a milestone. These students attend school less frequently, are less likely to go to university, and are more likely to drop out if they do enrol. Remote students have a less positive disposition towards schools on every measure in terms of belonging, self-confidence, purpose, and perseverance than their regional and metropolitan peers. Vocational education and training is an important pathway for regional and remote students, though very remote participation is low. Remote communities are home of 1/4 of Australia's Indigenous population. As a consequence, the educational challenges faced in remote areas have a disproportionate impact on Indigenous Australians. In 1997, the Australian Human Rights Commissioner, Chris Sidoti, launched a series of talks in regional and remote communities, aimed at hearing from country Australians about their human rights concerns. One of the most serious issues to come out of these talks was rural and regional Australians' struggle for equal education. The Human Rights Commission classifies this issue as urgent and of high importance. It is clear then, just as today, that at every stage of the education experience, rural and regional kids are significantly more disadvantaged than their metropolitan peers.
We come to school every day, but often don't realise that everyone is experiencing something different. Even though everyone here has the opportunity of coming to this school, we all have different background stories. For example, boarders lead very different lives to day girls, and today we are here to bring awareness to the different journeys every girl in this assembly is going through. There is not enough time to share every girl's story, but we hope this will help your understanding of what is going around you every day. Our first scenario is about the differences boarders and day girls face with their school situation and travels. Everybody here would recognise the typical phrase you hear on a Sunday: tomorrow I have to go to school, or towards the end of the holidays, next week I have to go to school. What a luxury it is to be able to complain about going to school when we are able to wake up in our own homes or at the school and arrive with only a 5, 20 or 40-minute commute. For students in rural Australia community, however, their school campus could be anywhere from 10,000 kilometres away. Unlike day girls, boarders do not get to wake up in their own homes with the comfort of their families. And when they do want to see their families, it can take 1 hour to days to get home. It is time we acknowledge the difference and educate ourselves on the lives of the girls around us. Our next scenario explores technology due to its relevance in our lives today and how this varies depending on where you live. Okay, major issue, I forgot my phone at home and I need someone's phone to log into my Snapchat to do my streaks. I could literally lose friends over this.
I have to make my way to the highest point, stand on my tippy toes, press my phone against the window, and then maybe I might be able to get at least 1 bar of service.
Our following situation is about something as simple as our morning routines and how this differs depending on whether or not you live in an urban or rural area.
I am so tired, oh my lord. I had to wake up at 7:15 a.m. this morning and I might cry. I seriously don't understand why school starts so early, like 8 a.m., seriously? Okay, chores for the day. Get up at 5:30 to feed the horses. clean the stables, feed the chickens, milk the cow. Then log into School of Air around 8. Do 2 lessons, tail out the cattle, then go back to School of Air. However, have to teach yourself because your parents are too busy doing work around the farm to teach you. Then after school, have to do a water run. Gotcha, chores for the day, down packed.
Moving on to the varying resources different areas receive, depending on how isolated their home and school is.
These textbooks are way too heavy. I can't deal. Like, why do we have physical textbooks these days? I could just download these on my laptop instead. Carrying around a heavy laptop's enough as it is.
I wish I could have the proper textbooks, but they won't arrive for another month due to how expensive posting is and how long it takes.
The next difference that is explored between rural and urban areas is the accessibility of education.
Don't even get me started on walking to subjects every day. Some classes are just so far away. Like my PC is in the music rooms, and I swear I have PE every time right beforehand. My feet hurt from walking all the way from PE to music.
At School of the Air, they only have 4 class meetings a year, with some students having to travel 8 hours to get there. Or if you do go to a school every day, some children have to wake up at 5:30, hop on the bus at 6, then get to school around about 8.
We should definitely acknowledge and be aware of the evident difference between the rural and urban education systems. Remember to always be understanding of those around you because everyone is experiencing different hardships. So please, girls, be mindful and appreciative of the opportunities we have here and the diversity of the people we get to experience it with.
We often overlook the opinions and experiences of our own fellow teachers at St Hilda's. We have compiled a video of a few teachers that have shared their past experience of their schooling years. Let's hear what they have to say.
So as most of you know, I went to St Hilda's from prep all the way through to year 12. I would say differences, there's more technology and access to information in the world around you, and there's more interest in social issues and the world outside of this school. Similarities, I still think there's a good sense of community, and I think that the staff in general, from library to boarding to maintenance and obviously teachers, are working really hard to help you succeed and get where you want.
My education was very different from St Hilda's in some ways, but very similar in others. We didn't have very good facilities at our school. I went to a state school on the outskirts of Brisbane, so we had our facilities were very different from St Hilda's, but it was very similar in that I had a wonderful selection of teachers. I had teachers who were very passionate about what they did and they cared about their students, so gave up a lot of their time to make sure that we understood all of the content. They were very willing to give up their lunch hours to make sure that we understood everything that was going on in the classroom and helped us in every way they could.
Oh, oui. Bonjour, Sarah.
Bonjour.
Okay, so education was a bit different. It was all in French, of course. But the main thing is the same as here, to learn, to discover a lot of things, to have friends. The difference with here was that at lunchtime we could go home, and the best part was on the Wednesday afternoon we didn't have school. That was cool.
Merci.
De rien, au revoir.
Au revoir.
Well, my education was very different to St Hilda's. I was educated in a state school in northern England, which was a very working class area. And the school that I went to was Victorian buildings with blackboards, and I can remember that the teachers were incredibly strict. I don't have happy memories of my school at all.
I'm going to talk to you about my schooling in high school. I think it's more relevant to your at the moment. So usually we were in classes of 40 students. So you would have 4 rows, double desks, and one after the other, and you have to sit in a particular order. And we didn't have much in terms of resources, so it was all talk and chalk. So the teacher would write on the board, and we would take notes in exercise books, and we had never been given any handouts. We didn't have access to computers, and we didn't have access to textbooks. So the only way we would know that we have a test is when we are lining up, and then we could see that the blackboard was shut, because the blackboard was big, had a big central part and had two sides. So if the blackboard was shut, that means it's a test time and we get our marks given to us, you know, and then we had to take the exam paper and the test paper and get it signed by our parents, which means they have seen the marks. And if your name was on the paper, you passed. If your name is not on the paper, you failed.
Growing up in South Africa, what was your school like?
Very, very organised and structured. There were heavy penalties and punishments if you didn't do the right thing, because we still had corporal punishment. So it was based on, was it spare the rod, spoil the child? Fortunately, it's not like that anymore.
So we're going? Alright. TSS was completely different here. As a teacher, I wasn't going to actually approach this school to work at because of my experience at TSS. But knowing the girls here, they're completely different to the boys at TSS. So you've been raised better than the boys at TSS.
The importance of education hasn't changed over the years, but the direction of learning and the delivery of it has changed dramatically.
Have you ever thought about how different your life might be if you could not attend school? Initially, it might sound cool or fun, but what if you aspired to become a doctor or an accountant and you were told that this was simply not an option for you? Lucky for us, we have many options open to us, and it is expected that we attend school and do our best. And when we finish our schooling, we aspire to go on to university or our trade or our dream job. For many children around the world, getting to school and being able to stay at school is not easy, and for some, it never becomes a reality. For the 12 million Tanzanians who live in extreme poverty, schooling is not a given just because the rigours of daily living are a struggle. In terms of per capita income, Tanzania has one of the poorest economies, ranked 204 out of 230 nations. Tanzania is unable to provide its children with a quality education. The government school system is overstretched, under-resourced, and produces poor educational outcomes. Over 90% of the adult population in Tanzania has no secondary education. Of the 1.63 million Tanzanian students who entered school in Year 1 in 2002, only 38,000 graduated Year 12. That is only 2.4%. Look around at your year level. On average, there is 100 girls. Imagine only 2 of you making it all the way through to Year 12. For many, if they start school, their education ends after primary school. Instead of enrolling in school, many children resort to child labour in violation of Tanzanian law to supplement their family's income. Girls also face many challenges on account of their gender. In 2014, a report was released to the Tanzanian government that highlighted key barriers to secondary education that prevent many adolescents from completing schooling and identified numerous areas that required government action to ensure all children access secondary education equally. In particular, the report pointed out government policies that specifically discriminated against girls, as well as a policy that allows school officials to subject students to corporal punishment that was often brutal and humiliating. Some of the many barriers to obtaining an education in Tanzania are Tanzania's poorest students are still unable to attend school because of the school-related costs. Schools are not able to fund basic needs, including school construction and renovation, the purchase of learning materials, and hiring of teachers. Many schools lack enough teachers to cover all subjects, with gaps in mathematics and science subjects. Students sometimes go without teachers specialising in these subjects for months, and must often find alternative ways to learn these subjects or fail exams as a result. The government controls the number of students who enter secondary education by relying on a primary school leaving exam, an exam at the end of primary school. The government only allows students who pass the exam to proceed on to secondary school, and it cannot be retaken, meaning children who fail cannot continue with formal schooling and often drop out without completing the last year of primary education. But still, only 80 to 90% of those who pass the test continue to attend school. This process occurs again in grade 10.
Girls also lack access to adequate sanitation facilities, a particular problem for menstrual hygiene, and often miss school during their monthly periods. Despite all of this, it is not all doom and gloom. Many people are working tirelessly to improve the educational outcomes for children in Tanzania. The government has been lobbied to make education a priority and to change those policies particularly affecting girls. Earlier this year, I visited the School of St. Jude's in Tanzania, which is founded by an Australian woman. The school aims to help tackle poverty through educating the young. St. Jude's provides a free, high-quality education to children who, due to poverty and social pressures, would otherwise be unlikely to complete their schooling. To apply to attend the school, the students must sit an academic exam and must come from families who often live on less than $1.25 a day. This week, we'll be starting a stationery drive for the new girls' school that will be opening at St. Jude's next year. I ask for everyone to try and be involved and donate second-hand or new stationery or a gold coin. Keep an eye out for emails that will help you to know what to donate. In finishing, I just want to say you can never underestimate the power of an education and what supporting young people in countries like Tanzania can do. Research has shown that education can lift families and communities out of poverty and increase a country's economic growth. Completing secondary education has been shown to strongly benefit individuals' health, employment and earnings throughout their lives. For girls, safe and equal enrolment in secondary education can act as a powerful equaliser, ensuring all girls and boys access the same subjects, activities and career choices.
Thank you, Ella, for that insight into educational progress happening in Tanzania. The skills that are passed on through education are priceless. We now have a video featuring Mr. Barack Obama on the importance of education and just how much value it adds to the lives that receive it.
Through education, you can also better yourselves in other ways. You learn how to think critically and find solutions to unexpected challenges. I remember we used to ask our teachers, why am I going to need algebra? Well, you may not have to solve for X to get a good job or to be a good parent, but you will need to think through tough problems. You'll need to think on your feet. You'll need to know how to gather facts and evaluate information. So, math teachers, you can tell your students that the president says they need algebra. Education also teaches you the value of discipline. That the greatest rewards come not from instant gratification, but from sustained effort and from hard work. This is a lesson that's especially true today in a culture that prizes flash over substance, that tells us that the goal in life is to be entertained, that says you can be famous just for being famous. May you get on a reality show, don't know what you've done, suddenly you're famous. But that's not going to lead to lasting, sustained achievement. And finally, with the right education, both at home and at school, you can learn how to be a better human being. For when you read a great story, or you learn about an important moment in history, it helps you imagine what it would be like to walk in somebody else's shoes, to know their struggles. The success of our economy will depend on your skills, but the success of our community will depend on your ability to follow the golden rule, to treat others as you would like to be treated.
Hi everyone, I'm Asia and this is Sasha and we're a part of Amnesty International. Today we've decided to have a little game of Have You Been Paying Attention? So can everybody who has a grey piece of paper on their chair come up to the stage so they can answer a couple of questions and get some chocolate?
Hi, so what's your name?
Diana.
I'm just going to ask you a question. What did Article 26 of the Universal Charter of Human Rights state? Just have a guess.
That education was compulsory.
Close. It's everyone has the right to an education. What's your name?
Claudia.
What did the NAPLAN results reveal about the difference between rural and urban education?
That urban education was higher.
Pretty close. That rural students are about 2 years behind compared to urban students.
What does the term urban education refer to?
The education in cities and populated areas.
Perfect. Hi, what's your name?
Tia.
What are the benefits of high levels of education?
You usually get to graduate till year 12, and it's better education, and the teachers are better.
Yeah, pretty close. The benefits are increased employment opportunities, higher wages, and it improves Australia's economic standing. You can still get a chocolate. Hi, what's your name? Where did Ella Fitzpatrick go that had a low level of education in the world? Hi, Edwina. What did President Obama say education teaches you? Name two.
Well, he talked about it doesn't necessarily teach you the exact things that you're going to use, but it gives you things to work through hard problems.
Good answer. He said that it teaches you the value of discipline. You learn, how to think critically and find solutions to unexpected challenges. Think on your feet, and rewards come with hard work, and you learn how to become a better human being. But here's a chocolate. Hi, what's your name?
Zara.
Why do you believe education is important?
Oh, alright. Education is important because education is important because you can teach others what you learn and you can grow in life and do great things.
Really great answer. Coming back to you. Okay. Name two differences between rural and urban education that Georgia and Grace talked about.
In the rural, there's
it's fine, just a guess.
In rural areas, it's harder to get textbooks and everything, whereas in urban Australia, you get more money and for more expensive books for school.
Yeah, that's good. That's what they said. Hi, are you a boarder or a day girl?
A day girl.
So we have boarders and day girls with us at St Hilda's. Name a difference between the two relating to education.
The day girls can wake up and go to school and it takes 10 minutes, but the boarders have to wake up at school and not in their own home.
Yeah, and some boarders live up to 8 hours away from St Hilda's. Perfect answer. Hi again. Who is more likely to have access to university? Graduates who live in urban or rural?
Urban.
And why is this?
Because they have a better education and also better opportunities to apply to universities that are closer, I guess.
Yes, that's perfect. Here's a chocolate. Hi again. How many remote students undertake a vet pathway or traineeship? It's a number, so just take a guess.
Like out of 10? Or like...
It's a fraction.
Was it 2.4%? Or was it like 2.3%?
It was 1/3. But nice guess. Hi. So, last question. How far away can a rural student's campus be from their home? For someone who lives in the country.
I don't know. Like in hours? 10 kilometres to 100 kilometres away. I mean 1,000 kilometres.
Good answer. That's completely correct. Thank you all for participating. Your answers were really good and enjoy your chocolate.
As most of you guys know, the Amnesty group is having a book drive to support our charity in Papua New Guinea called Book Belong Guinea. The book drive is happening until week 8. We need you guys to bring in some children's books for kids between the ages of 5 and 12. And you can just leave all your donations at the Senior School Center library. Thank you.
The Humans of St Hilda's was a project initiated by the Global Citizenship Portfolio to showcase the humanity and integrity of our school community, especially those of the girls involved in the middle senior school Amnesty and international groups. Taking inspiration from the Humans of New York project, girls from the Amnesty group have been interviewing students and teachers, asking them a few brief questions about their lives, their inspirations and their aspirations. We've also been posting reminders for significant upcoming events, like fundraisers and charity drives, such as Share the Dignity and Girl Up. Our aim is to make a positive difference around the world by helping those less fortunate, but in order to achieve this, we need your support. So we ask that after assembly today, you get onto Instagram and follow our account. The username is Humans of St Hilda's. We very much appreciate those already following the account and are looking forward to seeing an increase in the number of followers. As the assembly comes to a close, we hope that you've gained insight in regards to education and how it varies across urban and rural Australia, as well as in third world countries. It is undeniable that we are fortunate and lucky enough to attend this school and receive such a high standard of education. Despite the fact we may sometimes complain over petty issues like getting up early and finishing assignments, next time take a moment and think back to what you heard about today. Think about those that are deprived of an education, and most importantly, appreciate and utilise the education that you have received. Thank you.
Can we thank these girls again for what they've done? One of the best things about education is that it helps give you a voice. And I need to tell you, I am incredibly proud of the way St Hilda's girls speak. We've heard it today, and I have some excellent news that you may or may not have heard. That every year, for many, many years, we enter into the South Coast debating competition. And sometimes we have girls and teams that win. Well, I need to tell you that this last week, we won as champion school of the Gold Coast. Can we congratulate them? I want every girl who's been involved in debating this year to stand. Let's congratulate them. Thank you, girls. It's because of your effort and your skill and some of the skill we've heard today that we have been victorious in that. It's a great honour, and I want to invite Larissa and Jessica, our debating captains, to give some of the awards. Thanks, girls.
Hi girls, so as you've just heard, we've had some great success in debating lately. So the Gold Coast Debating Association Grand Finals were last week on Wednesday. And we actually had 3 teams competing, which is quite a big deal, so Larissa and I were very proud of the girls. Our grade 8 teams both spoke really well and competed against each other in the Junior Grand Finals. So these teams consisted of Indigo Edmonds, Mimi Edmonds, Maeve McBrathy, Ava Bellagine, Poppy Jane Todd, Zali Dickinson, Anya Jaya Sikira, and Remy Long. So to have those 2 teams in the final, we couldn't be more proud of you. So if you girls would like to come up to accept your awards, that'd be great. Yeah, so to have these girls speak, it was really great to have a full St Hilda's audience, so we were really proud that they both got through, so please give them a round of applause. Additionally, our Open A team, consisting of Emma Corp, Larissa Parent, Emily Cook and myself, won the Open A division. And this hasn't been done by St Hilda's team before, so we're quite pleased with that. The topic for this debate was that we need to condemn more and understand less. And although it was a conceptually difficult topic, my team members did really well, and we went up against a very strong Somerset team, so we're glad to sort of knock them down.
The Open A division is notoriously difficult, yet all the girls remain, our team remained undefeated all season, a fantastic way to conclude school debating. We'd also like to congratulate the grade 7s who were not eligible to compete in the grand finals because they don't do grand final rounds in that division, but we got some excellent results throughout the season, and we had a team remain undefeated, which is really commendable feat in their first year of debating. So would those girls like to stand? We'll give them a round of applause. Emily, would you like to come on stage to get the trophy? And the night also concluded with an overall win for St Hilda's, taking out the champion school title for 2018. This title reflects the continual efforts of all girls from grade 7 to 12, and we could not be more proud of their achievements. We'd also like to extend our thanks to Ms Roski, who has led debating this year, for her continual efforts, and thanks must also be directed to all the coaches who have mentored girls throughout the year. And we look forward to hearing about another great season of debating next year.
I'm now going to award Larissa and Jess the Champion School Trophy. And it's a shame that Emma's not here. Emma was Speaker of the Evening for that division, and I really want to thank the Year 12s for their leadership. This team has worked together. I know they have worked together very closely. Emily joined them this year, but they have worked together for a number of years. And I was at the finals that they were in last year, and it was just one of those debates that you all thought, we've won, and then we didn't. And it was one of those moments we were all very gracious, but we all went away saying we really should have won that. And this year for them to win was a wonderful fitting end to their debating careers, and I know that these girls have really been wonderful role models for the other debaters, all the girls that you have seen standing. I do want to commend them, I do want to say well done. It is a great honour to be at the champion school. I'm really proud of it, I hope you are. Let's thank them again. Well done.
Thank you, everyone. So you have a number of takeaways from today, particularly about bringing in books or bringing in stationery. See what you can do to be thinking of others.